You are not born for this. You are born in a town where the loudest sound is a church bell, and the most dangerous thing you know is a storm rolling across open fields. Seasons decide your rhythm. Harvests decide your mood. You measure time in sunrises, not in artillery barrages. War is a headline, ink on paper, something that happens to other men in distant capitals. Then one summer, the word stops being abstract. Flags appear in windows. Speeches grow louder. Posters bloom on brick walls promising honor, duty, victory. Bands play in town squares. Boys who have never left home stand straighter when drums roll. You are told it will be quick. You are told it will be glorious. You are told you are needed. You believe enough. You line up. You sign your name. The pen shakes slightly, though you tell yourself it is excitement. You are issued a uniform that smells of storage and old sweat. You are measured, inspected, assigned. A number replaces the name your mother calls from the kitchen door. She pretends to be proud. Your father nods once. You board a train full of boys pretending to be men. Laughter is louder than necessary. Songs fill the car because silence feels like doubt, and doubt feels like betrayal. Fields blur past the window. Fields become factories. Factories become cities. Cities become camps. Training is repetition carved into bone. You march until your feet blister. You march until thinking feels optional. You turn on command. You shout responses in unison. You clean your rifle until metal reflects your face back at you, distorted and harder than you remember. You learn to disassemble it blindfolded. You learn that mistakes cost push-ups now. Later, they will cost blood. You fire at targets shaped like men. You tell yourself this is still practice. Then you cross water, or borders, or both. The air changes first, thicker, charged. You hear distant thunder that is not weather. When you arrive, it is night. You are marched through darkness toward a line carved into earth. The trench is not what you imagined. It is deeper, narrower, breathing. You climb down and the mud grips your boots like it recognizes you, like it has been waiting. This is where you will live. The trench smells of rot, wet wool, and latrines too close to rations. Sandbags sag overhead, patched and repatched. Planks sink into sludge. You are assigned a section of wall reinforced with wood that splinters under shell shock. You are told 3 things immediately. Keep your head down. Listen for whistles. Sleep when you can. Sleep is not a command you can obey. Days collapse into gray. Artillery speaks constantly, a language of thunder that never pauses long enough to feel like silence. Shells land with force that lifts earth and drops it back wrong. The shock runs through your teeth, through your chest, through your bones. You learn to count seconds between flash and impact. 1, 2, 3. Incoming. Rats move through the trench as if it belongs to them. They grow heavy on what war leaves behind. They run across boots, across hands, across faces that no longer react. You stop flinching. Lice burrow into seams of your uniform. You scratch until skin opens. Everyone scratches. Everyone bleeds in small ways. Your feet never dry. Water pools at the bottom of the trench, thick and unmoving. Skin softens. Blisters bloom. Flesh whitens and cracks. They call it trench foot. You call it pain that does not leave. You change socks when possible. You rub circulation back into numb toes. Sometimes it works. Sometimes a medic looks at your foot too long and you understand something will be taken from you. Food comes in tins, cold meat, hard biscuits, tea if fortune is kind. You eat beside men who stare at nothing while artillery rearranges the horizon behind them. The enemy is close, closer than you imagined. On quiet nights you hear them cough, hear them speak in a language you do not understand. Sometimes you hear laughter. It sounds too human. That is inconvenient. It would be easier if they were monsters. Orders arrive with the certainty of weather. Hold the line. Repair the wire. Stand to at dawn. Stand to at dusk. You climb the fire step and peer over the parapet into no man's land. It is a landscape torn open, craters filled with brown water, wire tangled like exposed veins. Bodies no one has retrieved because retrieving them costs more bodies. A sniper shot cracks the air and you drop without thinking. You learn quickly that eyes are visible from far away. Night patrols are worse. You crawl through mud with a knife and breath held tight. Every sound is amplified. Every shadow is suspect. You cut wire carefully, or try to. Flares burst overhead without warning and turn night into merciless day. You freeze in white light, praying your body resembles dirt more than man. Letters arrive irregularly. Home writes of crops and weddings and babies born, of neighbors asking about you. You read by candle. You fold the paper slowly. You write back about calm days and strong morale. You do not describe the smell. You do not describe the screaming. You do not describe how the earth itself seems alive, shifting under bombardment like it wants to swallow you. An attack is announced. You are told it will break the stalemate. You are told artillery will soften the enemy. You are told to fix bayonets. He, night before, stretches endlessly. You check your rifle. You check it again. You lie down. You close your eyes. You see flashes even in darkness. At dawn, the bombardment begins. Hours pass. Then more. The sky is swallowed by smoke. You tell yourself nothing could survive that storm. Then the whistles blow. You climb the ladder. For a moment you stand exposed against gray sky. Then you move. You walk first, then run. Then stumble as the ground betrays your footing. Machine guns slice the air in lines you cannot see, but feel as men fall beside you. One drops mid-sentence. Another spins without sound. Stopping is death. Stillness is death. You keep moving. Wire appears not fully destroyed. You try to cut through. Bullets snap past your ears. Someone beside you collapses into mud that swallows him quickly. You push through a gap that may not exist. You reach the enemy trench. You jump down into chaos. Close combat is not cinematic. It is claustrophobic. Mud, screaming. Weight against your arms as you thrust because training told you to. Faces blur. Sound distorts. When it ends, you are shaking. If you survive, you count again, always fewer. You are told the attack gained ground. You see only loss. Shell shock begins quietly. A man stops responding when spoken to. Another trembles uncontrollably. Another laughs at nothing until someone slaps him back into awareness. Officers call it weakness. Doctors call it nerves. You feel something shifting inside you too. Sudden noise makes you duck too hard. Your hands tremble when idle. Sleep brings dreams that do not end when you wake. Seasons change. The trench does not. Summer brings flies. Winter brings ice that cracks sandbags and stiffens fingers around triggers. Rain turns everything to sludge. Frost turns sludge to knives. Replacements arrive with clean uniforms and questions. You answer less than you could. They learn quickly, or they disappear. Gas comes without ceremony. A sweet, sharp smell moves across trench line. You fumble for your mask, hands clumsy, straps tight. You pray the seal holds. Men cough violently. Some tear masks away in panic. Gas settles low. Trenches are low. You listen to choking and tell yourself not to remove your mask no matter what your lungs demand. Years stretch. Promotions come by vacancy. Someone dies. You step into his role. Your voice gives orders you once obeyed. You enforce discipline because chaos kills faster than enemy fire. You hate how natural it feels. Survival becomes something heavy. A burden, a quiet guilt. Letters from home mention shortages. Factories running without pause. Women filling roles left behind. Children growing into strangers. You wonder whether home will recognize you. You wonder whether you will recognize it. Another offensive, another whistle, another climb into open ground. You fall into a shell hole and press yourself into mud as bullets carve air above. You wait for noise to shift. You move when it does. You return thinner, harder. You do not notice the change. Others might. Then one morning the guns slow. Then they stop. Silence arrives heavy and unnatural. You wait for betrayal. It does not come. The war ends not with triumph, but with absence. You climb out of the trench not into attack, but into open fields scarred beyond repair. Trees shattered, villages flattened, earth cratered permanently. You leave without looking back. Demobilization is paperwork and lines. Uniforms surrendered, equipment counted, documents handed over. You board a train again. This time, no one sings. Home greets you with flags and relief. Fireworks crack the sky and you flinch before you can stop yourself. Noise feels wrong now. Beds feel too soft. Silence feels loud. At night you wake sweating. Thunder becomes artillery in your mind. You scan windows instinctively. Work resumes. Farms, factories, shops. Arguments about small inconveniences feel absurd. You struggle to explain why. Friends speak of years you missed. Weddings, politics, children grown taller. You nod. The gap remains. Sometimes you meet other veterans. Conversation flows easier. Silence between you carries weight without explanation. You speak in fragments. Rats, gas, whistles, mud. You drink to soften edges. The world redraws borders. You were part of something larger than understanding. Your body remembers even when history books simplify. A knee damaged by shrapnel. Hearing dulled by artillery. Lungs scarred by gas. Doctors write notes. You feel it every morning. Years pass. Children read about battles in school. They speak of strategy and victory. You remember mud and fear and the weight of a rifle in frozen hands. When you close your eyes, you still see trench walls pressing close. You still hear whistles. You still count seconds before impact. You were not a hero, not a speech, not a symbol. You were a soldier in a trench. You stood when ordered. You climbed when told. You survived when others did not. You carried mud home, and it never truly left. This was not a chapter. This was your entire life.